I'm too late.
It's okay. You're only 5 minutes late.
Oh,
Okay.
ah,
Maybe you're busy.
no, I woke up so late today.
Oh.
Because last night I slept about 2 a.m. Because of
Mm-hmm.
my mobile phone. I surf.
Mm-hmm.
I was surfing a website.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, let's just get started. So, I believe this is your first class with me, right?
Yeah, right. I'm very
Mm.
expecting this class.
Oh, well, that's good to know. Well, I'm also excited to start with this class, and maybe for this time, it's good for us to know each other.
Okay.
Okay, so if you check my profile online, I'm Sophia and I'm 31, so I'm married. I have one son, we only have one child, and I really love teaching. So this is actually a gift for me. This job is a gift for me.
Ah,
Well, in
okay.
my opinion, because
Yeah.
when I applied for this job, that was a week or two, then it was already my birthday.
Ah,
So
okay.
it's like a gift for me. So I enjoyed teaching,
Mm-hmm.
and of course, I really love to assist students, especially when it comes to their language skills building, or when it comes to training them to come up with good speaking skills.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I prefer using my own style of teaching, but of course, it would depend on the preferences of my student. So I will actually consider your preferences or your choices. So if you prefer to have free talking prior to the formal class, then that would be fine. But if you also prefer me to be strict and use the material accordingly, then that will also be fine. So I actually respect or I follow my students' preferences in learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, because basically every person is different and they learn the English language in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I really would consider whatever your request is. So just feel free to inform me about the style that you wanted me to follow.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, do you prefer to receive corrections during the time that you committed mistake, or would you like me to give that corrections after the class?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you that option. And also, if you have difficulty hearing me, you just need to call my attention, and I will adjust my settings.
Okay.
Okay. And also, if for you it seems that I speak so fast, you can also call my attention so I could slow down my pace.
Mm-hmm.
All right?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's really nice to meet you today. And, I'm very glad to see you and, of course, hear from you, John.
Yeah.
And so, how about you?
As for me, I'm a student of master course in
Mm-hmm.
the Maritime University of Korea,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm my birth year is 1946,
Mm.
and 1986. Sorry,
Mm.
1986, and I'm preparing to go to abroad for my study,
Mm.
especially aim to England or British. So
Britain.
Britain. So
Mm.
I need a IELTS score. Uh, I read your profile. There
Mm-hmm.
is you're specialized in teaching IELTS and TOEFL and
Yes.
and other examinations. So
Mm.
I was so interesting about it, and uh,
Mm-hmm.
I was so interested in it, and I hope to training my skill, especially in the speaking,
Mm-hmm.
for IELTS speaking part one and two, uh, so that if you are okay, I want to start with some cue card every day. So
Mm-hmm.
by practicing it every day, maybe I can get more ability to speaking. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
and as you said, you also can have a
Mm-hmm.
brief about my fault, so that you will give me some correction. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so I am agree on both. You give me
Mm-hmm.
uh, at that time and after my class. So
Mm-hmm.
you can give me the correction every time, and
Mm-hmm.
if you're okay, give me the
Yes.
brief also. Uh,
Okay, sure. I will consider everything that you mentioned.
mhm.
And
Okay.
I'm really glad that you're planning to study abroad. So you plan, if I got it correctly, you're planning to study in England or in Britain. British English is very different from American English.
Yeah.
So the safest way to speak in Britain or in England is to use a neutral accent.
Mm.
They don't use American expressions like you've got to, I
Mm.
wanted to, I wanna. They don't use those expressions. They use the traditional English that we learned.
Mm.
So they usually complete their sentences.
Mhm.
They're not used to liaisons. When we say liaisons, it's actually the manner used by most Americans, where they usually shorten the vowel sounds.
Mm.
For Americans, they would usually say, "Do you want to go to this and that?" But for British, they would basically mention everything, almost everything, but not all. They would say, "Do you want to?"
Mm.
See the difference? It's actually a formal way of using English. Well, if you base it in history, the origin of the English language is in that area, in Britain.
Mhm.
According to history, English was first used in southern and northern parts of Germany,
Mhm.
okay, and that of Greenland and England. So if you are familiar with the stories of Robin Hood,
Mhm.
okay, and if you're familiar with Shakespeare,
Mhm.
their original English is actually the original version of the English language.
Mm.
So it came from Denmark. It was only popularized when most people from Europe migrated to the United States.
Ah, yeah.
Mm. And since they started to come up with the different states in the United States, the English language evolved. That's the
Mm.
reason why the American accent was concretely established, and that is really different to British or European accents.
Mm.
Another example, or another concrete example, would be the word aluminum or aluminium.
Mm. Aluminium.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll try to set aside my American accent.
Ah,
I'll try
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
use the neutral accent.
Mm.
For British or for the England accent,
Mhm.
they don't use aluminum. They would say aluminium.
Aluminium. Mm.
Mm. They have a pail of water. For Americans, we have pail of water.
Mhm.
For the British, they would say a bucket of water.
Mm.
Okay, so that it's really very different.
Mm. Pale water. Mm.
And well, all you need to do is just to pay attention with the sounds of R.
Mm. R.
Because, yes, for British English, R for them is lifted, like with the Harry Potter.
Uh-huh.
Okay. They don't say Harry Potter, they would say Harry Potter.
Harry Potter.
Yes, and um, they're, well, it's more convenient on your part because you're a man, you're not a woman. So it's easier because they prefer a lower pitch of voice than a higher pitch of voice
Mm.
because they're fond with the sound of pa,
Mm.
okay, with the ah sound. Okay, they use minimal sounds of schwa or schwa sound, unlike with that of the American English.
Sorry. Uh, just now, I feel you're speaking so fast for to understand.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
Thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
yeah, yeah.
Well, for the British speakers, they do not usually use the schwa sound.
Mm.
They have a schwa sound, but it's not the American schwa. It's the British schwa.
Mm.
Okay, like they would say upper hand.
Upper hand. Mm.
Yeah, you said upper hand, but they would say upper hand.
Upper hand.
Mm. Okay, and also there R is also a rolling R,
Mm.
but it's almost similar as saying roller coaster.
Roller coaster.
Mm. So the R sound is a bit slight, or there's a slight difference, but it's almost the same.
Mm. Ah, really?
It's yes, also has something to do with their A sound. They
Mhm.
don't usually follow the American way of speaking. Like for example, with the word innovative.
Innovative.
Americans would say innovative, but
Mhm.
for British people they would say innovative.
Innovative. Innovative.
Mm. Innovative.
Innovative.
Mm. See the difference? They usually say the sound of A as ah.
Ah,
Mm?
yeah, I nearly know that. Oh.
Yeah, so
Mm.
it's really close. Although for Korean, since how do you call this? Based on history,
Mhm.
South Koreans were supported by the Americans.
Mm.
So your exposure in English has something to do with American English,
Yeah,
right?
maybe. Mm.
Maybe.
Mm.
Okay, but people who were sent to South Korea are actually the ones with a more neutral accent, so
Mm.
they don't use slang.
Mm.
So these are military officials who do not usually use slang, so I think it's easier for you to adapt.
Yeah, because for us, the expression of American, wanna or
Mm-hmm.
gonna, that
Mm-hmm.
is not familiar with our general course in the school.
Yes.
So for distinguish to distinguish the language English, uh,
Mm-hmm.
British English is more better than American English, even though we are
Mm.
uh, educated by American English
Mm-hmm.
because of the sound of T,
Mm-hmm.
a double T, so double T or other things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, a correct sound T is more easy to distinguish, as I
That's
see it.
true.
Yeah, yeah.
And of course, in the academic world, like where we exist, most academicians or most professionals would prefer to use the British accent, mainly because it's more formal
Mm-hmm.
compared to the American accent.
Mm. Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm. And I have one question.
Mm.
If I get IELTS test as I read the instruction, there is no discrimination between American English and British English. They said so. So I thought even though I study American English, there is no problem to get score in IELTS. But how about your opinion that if I study American English, maybe I have a low score in the test?
No,
Mm.
because for IELTS, I remember when I was reviewing for IELTS, because I'm supposed to take up IELTS, but I postponed it.
Mm.
You only need to be consistent. So if you use American, then you need to be consistent. You need to start speaking, start speaking using the American accent, then you need to end up in American accent. If you started to use British accent, then you also need to be consistent. You end up with British accent.
Aha, okay.
That's the only thing. It's just that nowadays, there's actually a special exam.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the IELTS UK,
Mm-hmm.
which is British based. But it doesn't mean that you need to use British English. It's just that the principal holding the test or the test provider is within the United Kingdom.
Mm.
That's why they call it UK IELTS based test.
Mm.
And it's more expensive in our country.
Mm.
So if you'd like to specialize on that type of IELTS exam,
Mm-hmm.
it's more expensive because they have a more comprehensive form of review,
Mm-hmm.
and you also need to be familiar with some British expressions and British words
Ah,
that
okay.
are not available for American. That's the only difference, but it's almost the same.
Ah,
the
okay.
scoring, the scoring criteria is the same,
Ah.
like the clarity, your
Mm.
delivery,
Mm.
your grammatical range and accuracy, everything would go together.
Ah, so you mean to say I don't have to speak British English, but I can choose American English to speak, but the the one I should be careful is listening to,
Yes.
yeah. Okay. So I prefer to you can I prefer you choose your natural English.
Sure.
Yeah. So that is that might be better to instruct me, and for me also I adjust to uh, speaking English and listening English. So uh, I am prefers American English now. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm.
Anyway, let's just follow
Mm.
the formal English. It's
Mm.
just that I would be very direct. I would avoid slang in this class
Ah, okay. Mm.
because I'm not used to using slang.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm used to formal English
Mm-hmm.
because when I started teaching in the university as an assistant instructor, we were trained to speak the formal way.
Mm. Okay.
So,
Mm,
mm,
I saw your interview
mhm,
in the website.
mhm.
So your pronunciation is very, uh, very. How can I explain? Very fine, as I think, cause I as I thought you used official language uh,
Mhm.
to uh, to make student understand your pronunciation. Also,
Mhm.
the word is almostly as I think there was formal language.
Yes, that's what I usually do. I
Mm-mm.
prefer to use that type of language.
Okay. So I expect this class because I can get many things from you.
Oh, you're very much welcome, and I'm really excited to get started with this class.
Mm.
So, when I started reviewing your profile,
Yeah.
it shows here that your textbook would be IELTS speaking.
Yeah.
Hmm. And I guess you've already started, or have you tried to go over this reading or this articles?
Sorry, I couldn't heard it. So could
I'm
you say
sorry.
again?
Have you tried to go over these learning materials?
Running materials.
Yeah,
Go over.
your learning material or book is IELTS speaking. Did you try to scan
Mm.
this material?
Ah, so you mean
Did you try to check?
I never checked yet the IELTS speaking
Ah,
textbook yet.
okay. Let's try to check it. So
Uh-huh.
at least you'll have a feel of this textbook, okay?
Okay.
Okay, one moment. Can you see it now?
No, but I downloaded it.
Oh, you downloaded it. Well,
Yeah.
that's a good thing. But anyway, I'll teach you some things that you can do
Mm-hmm.
so you will be familiar on how to use this because we have here our communication box. They call it the video room. You can underline, you can add some text,
Mm-hmm.
you can draw.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really flexible.
Mm-hmm.
One moment. There we go. One moment. It's still loading on my end.
Yeah, I think it's very slow. Even though
Mm.
they have some supporting 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 repairing last week, it's so very
Mhm.
slow.
They call it system update.
Mm. Right, system update.
Yes. Can you see it now?
Yeah, just now I can see.
Yeah, so this is actually your learning material. So I just
Mhm.
opened one page.
Yep.
So it talks about IELTS speaking.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the Korean translation.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. And if we move on, there. So here you can use the functions where you taught on how to use this.
Mm-hmm.
You can just insert the text there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and of course, you can also use the pen. For example, you would like to underline something that you don't understand or encircle. There, you can do that.
Yeah.
Or you can also encircle.
Mm-hmm.
And also, you can also erase if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
And you can change the color of your markers to, you can use different colors.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah.
There, I made a happy face. Okay, so
Okay.
it's up to you. So you can maximize this. For
Yeah.
example, we have like issues when sometimes if the internet is not really working fast, sometimes he cannot hear me well. You can write
Mm-hmm.
here,
Mm-hmm.
so you can write anything there, or you can use the chat box,
Mm-hmm.
like when we say hi,
Mm-hmm.
there, and other messages. So most often than not, I use the chat box for chatting
Mm-hmm.
if my student cannot hear me or if I need my student to log back in. So in this class, you cannot log in unless I enter the video room. So if I'm not available, you cannot log in. And if there are system issues, I need to log out, and then you need to wait for my message,
Okay.
and that's the time you can log in.
Mm.
But
Mm.
it's very rare.
Mm.
System difficulties is really rare, so there's nothing to worry.
Okay. So you mean I just wait if you
Yeah.
are not in the our chatting room, right?
Yes.
Mm.
But do not log in yet. I will send you the message because the system will not allow you to log in without me logging in first.
Okay.
Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's it.
Okay.
Do you
Thank you so
have,
much. Yeah.
yes, do you have any clarifications regarding this material?
I will print out all the page of this textbook and I will check it. And next time, so we will start with this textbook, right? Mm.
Yes, of course.
Mhm.
Anyway, thank you so much for attending this class.
Mhm.
So we'll get started next meeting, and I
Yeah.
hope you have a wonderful day today.
Okay, thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Goodbye. Have a
Bye.
nice day too.
Bye.